Unicorns Talk is a weekly podcast where we discuss the ups and downs of the human experience, from personal growth to romantic relationships and everything in between. This show is for life livers, life lovers, and life enhancers. My name is Latrice Sampson Richards, your life enhancement coach, and together we're going to laugh, love, and learn to maneuver all of life's little messes. Let's go. Hey everybody, it's Latrice Sampson Richards here, your life enhancement coach, and you are tuned in to episode 9 of Unicorns Talk. And I'm so glad that you're here. Thank you so much for tuning in. It has been 2 weeks since I've posted a new episode, and I apologize for that to all of my, faithful followers. I really apologize, y'all. Listen, they was trying to take the girl out, okay? The first week, I ended up actually in the hospital for a couple days. I wasn't feeling well, had some stomach issues. I'm good now. It wasn't anything too serious, but the doctor felt like he needed to starve me for a few days and let my stomach kind of heal up and do what it needed to do. So I wasn't able to get an episode together to put out for you all for that. And then last week, I was battling Hurricane Irma, which kind of, I feel like she came from out of nowhere. I know she didn't actually come from out of nowhere, but I kind of feel like she did. I feel like she just crept up on me. Here in Cuba, where I am in Cuba, I'm kind of toward the bottom there. We didn't get it too bad, thankfully. We did get some rain and some wind, but not anything near what the rest of Cuba experienced, or even what Fort Lauderdale, Haiti, the Bahamas, Puerto Rico, we were really blessed here to that we didn't have to contend with it in that way. But it did cause some issues with my internet connection. And so I wasn't able to get an episode put together for you all last week either. And so I apologize for that. But I am back, and I've been so inspired, y'all. I mean, I've had so much downtime that I've just been taking in all kinds of information, and I feel like I've been really, really inspired. And so I'm really looking forward to today's topic. Actually, when I was trying to decide what I was going to, do for today and do for this week, it took me a little while to even get it all put together, because in my head, I have like 5 different things I want to talk about because I'm just that inspired right now. And so that's exciting for me, because, that it does happen, but, it makes me realize and remember why I'm so passionate about doing this work and talking to y'all and getting out here and making this happen. So anyway, today's topic is really good. Y'all know how I feel about Issa Rae. Definitely have a girl crush on Issa Rae, slight girl crush on Issa Rae, but not the sexual kind, just like the she's so fucking awesome kind. And I absolutely love Insecure. And so if you're anything like me, you have been glued to the television screen for the last, 8 or 9 weeks or something like that. And we just had the finale of season 2. And so while I was watching the show, or like really all throughout the season, Issa she's been using this word over and over, and it just kind of really made me think. And then when I watched the last episode, I felt like that's when everything kind of came together for me. But anyway, she's been using the word Hoe-ation. Okay, Hoe-ation. And so it really kind of made me think about what the Hoe-ation is, and what that world looks like. And so today we are going to deep dive into the world of Hoe-ation, and I'm doing Hoe-ation 101, because when I really think about it, it's so crazy because I've had this conversation with people before, but I've never really put it together in any organized way. And so, like I've done for today's show. And so, I'm really excited about finally, like, making some sense of all of this and having a real conversation about it. I mean, it's still gonna be fun because y'all know that's just how I roll. But hopefully, we can learn a few things. I'm sure everybody is gonna be able to see themselves. We're gonna talk about the four different types of hoes. So this is Hoe-ation 101. Okay. And before we really, well, let me go back to this. So, and then after that, I'm going to do my very first high five. And so I'm a high fiver, y'all. I love high fives. I'm just a really big fan of the high five. I feel like high fives make people feel good about themselves, and it's a really good positive reinforcement strategy. And I mean, who doesn't like a high five? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's universal. Everybody loves a high five, right? Or maybe it's just me. I don't know. I do. I enjoy a good high five. So anyway, I wanted to come up with a way to be able to like highlight, for any given week, whenever I feel like it, somebody that I feel like deserves a high five, like somebody who I feel like has inspired me or has done something that's noteworthy or something like that. And so I'm doing a high five. Okay. This is a new thing that I'm going to start on the podcast, and I'm really excited about it. Just trying to, do the things that I love anyway. All right. So anyway, so today is going to be my very first high five, and that high five is going to Jemele Hill, from ESPN, and we'll talk a little bit more about that, later on in the show. All right. So I think that's it. Let's go ahead and get started. So Hoe-ation 101. First of all, let me say this before I get the hate mail and I get the people calling me and texting me and all of this about my choice of words. I am using the word hoe. Get over it, okay? And I'm not trying to be insensitive, but I want to try to give some context to why I'm using the word hoe. First of all, I think, because Issa used the word hoe on the show. She said it's her Hoe-ation, and so that's kind of actually where the actual title came from. It's her use of the word Hoe-ation, okay? But then, on the other side of that, I feel like, hoe is one of those words that has definitely been incorporated in the Urban Dictionary in more ways than one. Not the actual Urban Dictionary. I have not checked the Urban Dictionary online, but you get what I'm saying. In terms of pop culture, in terms of urban culture, it is a word that has been incorporated. And I don't necessarily consider myself like a feminist or a Pan-African. I'm Treese, and I just believe in what I believe in. I fight for the causes that are important to me. And I set the boundaries that I feel comfortable with. I don't necessarily subscribe to any particular label when it comes to things like that. However, I have mixed feelings about the word hoe. I'm not even going to lie, but I think that a lot of it has to do with context. So how I feel about the use of the word really depends on the context in which it was used. Okay. I feel the same way about the word bitch. I use the word bitch all the time. I'm from New Orleans, and I don't know if it's just a New Orleans thing. Actually, I don't think it's just a New Orleans thing because they use it on the show too. So I think that's something that's becoming a part of urban culture as well. But I feel like words have power, the power that you give them. Okay. So words have the power that you give them. And so I'm going to use the word hoe a ridiculous amount of times today. All right. And my intention is not to offend anybody. That's never I don't set out to hurt you or offend you or anything like that. Okay. But if you're not comfortable with me using the word hoe, I think you should bow out gracefully now, because I'm just giving you this warning that I am going to be using the word hoe. It is in a somewhat lighthearted manner. I'm not calling you a hoe. I'm not, using it necessarily in a derogatory way. I'm making a point here, and trying to do so in a way that's entertaining, because at the end of the day, this is a podcast and we do want to be entertained, but I'm also trying to give some valuable information. So I urge you to stay. I want you to stay. I want you to listen. But I also want you to come on out of your feelings and receive the information and not just the presentation of the information. Okay? All right. So now that that's said, I've given that little disclaimer. Let's go ahead and get started. So I've always felt like there's like a science to this thing, right? When I was in college, I had several friends. I think I kind of consider myself to be a late bloomer when it comes to romantic relationships and things like that. I mean, I always had a guy that was interested. I never had a problem getting guys, getting men, things like that. But I was a late bloomer in terms of activity and doing things in relationships. And it wasn't by circumstance, it was by choice. And so, I used to kind of look around at my friends and things like that. And I feel like my theory of, the Hoe-ation 101 really started to form way back then, like even in high school, because I would just sit back and watch, how all of these other relationships played out, the relationships of the people that I was friends with or frenemies with, or just chicks that I knew. And, over time, it really kind of shaped my understanding of what the different types of women that interact in relationships. And so, like I said, I've had this conversation with several people in the past. For years and years, I've had this conversation, but this is the first time that I've really tried to put it into understandable terms for a mass audience. So y'all let me know if I did a good job with that or not, if that makes any sense to you or not. But we're going to talk about the 4 types of hoes. There are 4 basic types of hoes, in my opinion. Before we get into that, I want to talk about the good girl first, okay? So the good girl is not a hoe at all right? The good girl, she's the girl that plays by all the rules. She never does anything that she's not supposed to do. She might be a virgin. It's possible that she's decided that she wants to wait until marriage. But nowadays, that doesn't necessarily have to be, right? So just because somebody is a good girl doesn't necessarily mean that they've never had sex or that they're waiting until marriage to have sex. So, but if she is choosing to be sexually active, she's doing so responsibly. So she only sleeps with people that she is in a committed monogamous relationship with. Or if she's not in a relationship with somebody, she keeps her a little piece on the side. You know what I'm saying? But it's a steady piece. Right? It's a steady piece. So she's not necessarily bouncing around from guy to guy. She may not be in a committed monogamous relationship, but she's probably more likely in a monogamous buddy relationship. You get what I'm saying? For just in case purposes. You always got to keep one on your team. You know what I'm saying? Or maybe you don't, but you get what I'm saying. She has very clear boundaries, and she respects relationship boundaries and the relationship boundaries of others. Okay. So the good girl is, she is the good girl. We all know the good girl. Maybe some of us are the good girl. But that's the good girl. Okay. After that, then we get into the 4 types of hoes. All right. The first type of hoe is the liberated hoe. Okay. And y'all, I went back and forth with these names, I didn't want to be too harsh. Like I said, I'm definitely not trying to offend anyone, but it is what it is. I wanted the names to be descriptive as well. So anyway, we have the liberated hoe. 9 times out of 10, the liberated hoe is a feminist. Okay, she is a feminist. Not to say that she absolutely is, but I'm saying 9 times out of 10 she's a feminist. She believes in her right to sexual freedom, and she engages in sexual activity as much or as often as she would like to, with as many partners as she chooses, but she does so responsibly. Okay, she's comfortable in her sexuality, and she is really big on expressing her sexuality in a healthy, a really healthy way. All right. She also respects relationship boundaries, and she has set very clear boundaries for herself and for anyone that, that she chooses to engage in sexual activity with. So the liberated hoe is somebody that, she's promiscuous in the sense of, she's had multiple partners, or, she doesn't feel like she needs to be in a committed relationship in order to have sex with somebody, but she still has boundaries, and she does so responsibly. All right. That's the liberated hoe. The second type of hoe is the traditional hoe. Okay. And the traditional hoe is openly promiscuous, and she shows absolutely no shame about it. Now, this type of hoe probably is going to try to tie her actions to feminism. And she's going to claim that she has a right to do what she wants with her body, and she can, that it's her right as a woman to sleep with whoever she wants to, and things like that. But don't be fooled by this, because that's not her actual reasoning behind being a hoe. A traditional hoe is only using feminism as a front so that she can get over on people, or make people not believe that she's a hoe, or really to convince herself maybe that she's not a hoe. All right. The difference between a liberated hoe and a traditional hoe is that a traditional hoe lacks appropriate boundaries. Okay. It's not just, oh, I have a healthy sex life. It's, I have no boundaries, and I don't give a shit about your relationship or your boundaries, my relationship or my boundaries. This is, a traditional hoe. This is what we would consider a home wrecker. This is what we would consider, a gold digger maybe, or something like that. Like just the old time definition of a hoe. That's what the traditional hoe is. All right. 9 times out of 10, the traditional hoe, more often than not, and this has been my experience based on working with my clients over all of these years. And then also, just watching my friends and family, to be honest. This traditional host, 9 times out of 10, she's likely had some history of trauma, either directly or indirectly, meaning having experienced a physical or emotional trauma related to personal relationships herself, or romantic relationships rather, herself, or she has watched someone that she loves experience a physical or emotional trauma in a romantic relationship at some point in her life, and she was affected by that. Okay. And that has shaped her perception on romantic relationships. All right. And so that's why she is able to engage in these relationships the way that she has, because her viewpoint on romantic relationships is really, blinded by those experiences. And like I said again, this is not a catch-all. It's not everybody, but in my experience, 9 times out of 10, that is the case. I think that the traditional hoe type, can really break down into two categories. One, we have the barroom hoe. Okay. Bar room hoe. Okay. And I actually get that term from my mother. Hey ma, I love you. But a barroom hoe is a hoe that's always in the barroom. Everybody knows what a barroom hoe is. That's a hoe that she was taught how to be a hoe. She was taught that hoeing is just a way of life. This is how you get the things that you need. So almost like a survival tactic, almost, right? Like all men are good for, or all these types of relationships, sexual relationships, are good for, is getting what you need to get in order to live, in order to survive, or in order to have the kind of life that you want to have. All right, that's a ballroom hoe. Okay, and you got to watch a ballroom hoe for many reasons, but you know what I'm saying. All right, the second type of traditional hoe is a jaded hoe. Okay, and a jaded hoe is a hoe that she has had several unsuccessful romantic encounters, and possibly countless negative experiences in her dating life. And so now she's at a place where she just has lost faith in love. She's lost faith in love. She's lost faith in happiness, in marriage, and in men or in partners, because it's not just, I'm using the terms, I'm speaking from the point of view of a woman, because that is what is natural for me. I am a woman. I am a heterosexual woman. But this goes for anybody. Okay, I want to be very clear about that. So even though I'm using the pronouns for women, that this goes across the board. Okay, this goes for any population. Anybody can fall into these categories. Okay, so the jaded hoe is somebody who has had a plethora of negative experiences, and they just tired. They tired. They tired of trying to fall in love. They tired of trying to find love, and so you know what? They just give up, because they would rather not expect it and not get it than to expect it and not get it and be hurt again. Okay, they're jaded. They're jaded about love and the reality of love and the possibility of getting love, and so they just give up on it. All right. Okay, so those are the two types of traditional hoe. There's the ballroom hoe and the jaded hoe. All right, y'all with me? Y'all with me? Okay, the third type of hoe is the accidental hoe. So the accidental hoe, this was the original thought, like this was the beginning of this whole concept formation for me. I have been talking about the accidental hoe for years, okay, because I had a friend in college that was an accidental hoe, and she honestly is the basis for this description, okay. Because I watched her for years and years and years go through this cycle of searching for love. So the accidental hoe is the one that she's not really trying to be a hoe. She's just looking for love, She's looking for love in all the wrong places. And she becomes an easy target for weak men who prey on emotionally vulnerable women, because she is so desperate for love and for acceptance that she kind of carries this desperation around with her. You get what I'm saying? And everybody knows a woman like that. Everybody knows a woman like that. She just wants to be loved, and she wants it so badly that she puts herself out, and she puts herself in situations that are unhealthy for her, and she becomes a very easy target. So what ends up happening is that she ends up sleeping with any man who shows her more than the most minimal basic levels of interest, in hopes that he will be the one. Okay, so this is the girl that every guy she meets, every guy she dates is the one. Okay, and they only been together for 2 weeks, but in that 2 weeks I already know that this is the guy I'm going to be with for the rest of my life, just like the last 4 guys. All right, everybody knows this woman. All right, the problem is that she tends to go for men who are incapable of giving her what she really wants and needs, and that is commitment. All right, so she tends to fall for men who are either physically unavailable, meaning that they are already in other relationships, or they are just physically unavailable to her, or like just don't have time for a relationship or something like that, just physically cannot be in this relationship or be committed to her. or they are emotionally unavailable, okay? Meaning that they are not possible of giving her the connection and the love and the sense of belonging that she really is looking for, okay? And so eventually she realizes that she's the only one in the relationship. Okay, as time goes on, because she's a very intelligent woman, all right, she tends to be a very intelligent woman, all right, and so eventually at some point she realizes that this relationship is not going anywhere, or that I'm the only one that's in this relationship, or that, damn, like this is happening again, okay, like he's not the one, he's not the guy I'm going to spend the rest of my life with. Instead of admitting that maybe she is the problem, or that maybe she's that she has made a poor choice or made a poor decision, she convinces herself that she is a liberated hoe. Okay? So stay with me. When she realizes that this relationship is not what she thought it was, or not what she, needs it to be, instead of her admitting or acknowledging that she has made a mistake, she convinces herself that she is a liberated hoe, and that now I'm choosing to sleep with this man because I still need something to do with my time. You see what I'm saying? But in reality, she's still hurting, because there's some part of her that's still hoping that something can come out of the relationship. All right? That's a really dangerous place to be, in that place of denial, in terms of convincing yourself that that you're, that this is what you chose to do, or that you're not, feeling some kind of way about, or disappointed about the relationship not working out. That's a dangerous place to be in, that type of denial, because she never takes responsibility for the role that she plays in each of those failed relationships, okay? Which means that she's doomed to repeat them over and over and over, or she runs the risk of becoming a jaded hoe. All right. Because after so many times of getting her hopes up and getting her heart broken over and over and over and over and over, she says, fuck it, I'm not doing this no more. And then she becomes the jaded hoe. You get what I'm saying? So there's a lot of us that are the accidental hoe, and it's a difficult place to be in. But at some point, I think the remedy there is to acknowledge that maybe there's something that I'm doing that's attracting this type of person, right? Maybe there's something that I'm putting out there that's telling this particular type of person that it's okay to treat me like this. It's okay to talk to me like this. It's okay. You don't have to give me a commitment, because I'm just going to keep coming back for more. And I'm going to keep having sex with you, not because I'm lonely and I'm afraid to sleep in my bed by myself. Oh no, that's not why. That's not why. Might look like that's why, but that's not really why. I'm doing it because I choose to, and I'm a woman and I can do whatever I want to do with my body. But when you're not here at night, you better believe I'm laying in my bed crying by myself, because I feel like I'm never going to get the things that I really want. A healthy, successful marriage, a family, a committed relationship. I cry myself to sleep because I realize that maybe that's not going to happen for me. You feel what I'm saying? So the accidental hoe, I think, is, probably the most common type of hoe that's out there. And yeah, it's a crazy place to find yourself in. All right. Okay. So I'm going to move on. All right. The fourth and final, according to my list, type of hoe in Hoe-ation 101 is the exploratory hoe. All right. Now, the exploratory hoe is kind of like a good girl gone bad, all right, but not too bad, okay? The exploratory hoe, this girl, she's always played by the rules, and she's tired of it. She's tired of being the good girl, and she really just wants to see how it feels to be bad for a little while. Or she is kind of going through like a developmental phase, growth phase, like a phase of life. And she just wants to explore her sexuality. She just wants to kind of see what it's like to be free sexually. She wants to, have that experience before she settles down and gets into a long-term relationship. All right, that's an exploratory hoe. What she so she she's doing things that she considers to be really, really out there, right? But those things are really, to most people, probably mediocre at best, okay? But to her, she really feels like she's pushing the limits, all right? The thing about the exploratory hoe is that you probably will never know that she's hoeing, because she tends to move in silence, okay? Because she's a good girl in reality. And the good girl doesn't want anybody to know that she out here hoeing, okay? That she out here exploring things and seeing what the world has to offer for her. So you probably are never going to know that she's hoeing, because she's moving in silence. Because after she's done with this phase of her life, after she has, gotten all of the experiences that she feels like she wanted to experience, guess what? She's going right back to being a good girl. Okay. And so she cannot have this phase of her life influence her image as a good girl. Okay. And so she's just exploring things. She's a good girl. She want to be bad for a little while, but she coming back to the good girl life. Okay. And that's the exploratory hoe. Okay. That's Hoe-ation 101 as understood by Latrice Sampson Richards. Okay. You have the good girl, you have the liberated hoe, the traditional hoe, the accidental hoe, and the exploratory hoe. Okay. And all of that came from Insecure. I'm really grateful for that show. I feel like they do a really good job of highlighting each of those types of hoes. And let me tell you, everybody knows this type of hoe. Not only does everybody know this type of person, but also I think, you were not necessarily pigeonholed into one particular category. You can start off in one category and move into another category very easily. You get what I'm saying? Because it's all about experiences. It's all about what your experiences have been, what your perception about relationships is, and how honest you're being with yourself about the reality of what it is that you want to see manifest in your life. You know what I'm saying? Okay. So just because you're in one category right now doesn't mean that you have to be, or that you will be in that category forever. It's just where you are right now at this point in your life. But if you want to get to another category, then you got to do the work that it takes in order to get there. I mean, for better or for worse. All right. All right. That's it for Hoe-ation 101. I have a whole lot more to say about Insecure. That'll come in other episodes. So y'all are probably going to get tired of me talking about Insecure for a couple weeks. But I promise you, each and every one of those episodes is going to give us some life lessons and help us, hopefully, to move our lives forward and get the relationships and the life that we really deserve. Okay. All right. So coming up next is High Five. High Five is a new segment that I'm starting. And like I said before at the beginning of the show, I just wanted to have a way to be able to acknowledge people that I feel deserve to be acknowledged. Whether that is they've done something that I really approve of, or they've stood their ground, or just being a really cool human being. You know what I'm saying? And so this week's high five goes to Jemele Hill. And I hope that I'm saying her name correctly. Jemele Hill. Jemele Hill is the co-host of the 6 p.m. hour of Sports Center on ESPN. She also used to have a show with this guy, I don't remember his name, on ESPN, but it was called His and Hers, okay? And I'm not really that into sports, I will be honest. So Sports Center is not one of my favorite stations to watch. But I am familiar with Jemele Hill because she just something about her. I'm really kind of drawn to her. And I'm proud of her for being, anytime I see a woman sportscaster, a female sportscaster, I'm always, supportive of that because, the sports industry is so male dominated, and so anytime I see a woman that is thriving and really kind of doing their thing, holding their own with the men, I'm always down to support that. Okay, so Jemele Hill, on Monday, this past Monday, September 11th, she posted a string of tweets on Twitter, basically kind of calling Donald Trump a white supremacist. Not basically, she actually called Donald Trump a white supremacist, and she expressed her opinion on his performance as far as his presidency thus far, and her views on him just in general, like as an individual. And the internet just went crazy, okay? The White House said that her remarks were a fireable offense and just pretty much called for her to be fired for calling the president or calling Donald Trump a white supremacist. ESPN denounced her statements, and they were very quickly accused of trying to repeal and replace her, which they were very unsuccessful at. Apparently, the story is that nobody was willing to stand in her place, so her fellow journalists really supported her in terms of her freedom of speech and things like that. And so I definitely want to give her a high five this week for speaking her mind and standing by it. I like the fact that she had the courage to say what she felt was the right thing to say, or to say what was important to her. You know what I'm saying? And even when she got pressure to kind of crab walk on that, because she could have very easily tried to, backtrack on those comments, she didn't do that. She did apologize to ESPN, to her employer directly, but the apology was not for the statement that she made. It wasn't for expressing her beliefs. Her apology was for her failure to not make it more clear that her thoughts were her own and not associated with the company, which I think is definitely appropriate, because when you have a massive entity like ESPN, or any of those entities, they always say the statements and views expressed are the opinions of the authors and are not endorsed by, such and such and such and such. Well, so it makes sense that from a legal perspective, ESPN wanted to or needed to create some separation, from that statement. And maybe she could have done a better job at having created that separation. I don't know, but I think that the apology to her employer was appropriate, but she did not apologize for her words. She did not apologize for expressing her opinion, because she has every right to have that opinion. And there is a sizable portion of this country that agrees with her opinion. All right. And so high five to Jemele Hill for just being standing on her morals and saying what she means and meaning what she says. I always can appreciate anybody who has the courage to speak truthfully and to speak with courage, or to speak with just some fervor. And so I am high five to her. All right. Okay, so that's all I got for y'all today. Thank you so much for tuning in. I really enjoyed y'all. I feel like time goes by so fast when I'm talking to y'all. So let me know what your thoughts are. Do you watch Insecure? If so, what are your thoughts? Which characters do you think fit these different types of modes? What's your thoughts on my Hoe-ation 101? Did you think I hit all the ones or all the main categories? Are there any additional categories that you might add? Let me know. Talk to me. Hit me up on Facebook and Instagram at Latrice Sampson Richards, Twitter at L Sam Richards. Definitely go over to the website at LatriceSampsonRichards.com. You can submit a confidential contact form. Let me know what your thoughts are, things like that. And if you find yourself in one of these categories and you're really interested in trying to move out of that particular category, let me tell you, this is a judgment-free zone, okay? I'm giving you the information, and yeah, we joking about it and all of that because, like I said, there is an entertainment aspect of this. But at the end of the day, my job is to help you get to where you're trying to go. And so, if you find yourself in one of these categories and you're not happy about the category that you're currently in, and you want to try to get to a whole different category, then give me a holler, send me a message or something like that. We can get together, work together. I can help you get to where you're trying to go. Okay. I am your life enhancement coach. And so whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish, I can definitely help you get there. I believe it is my purpose in life to help you get there. And I actually enjoy doing it. All right. And I'm damn good at it. All right. Okay. All right. So that's all I got for y'all. Thank you so much for tuning in. I love y'all and I appreciate y'all. And until next time, be well.